Chapter 1393. The five-color divine light had finally fused into one, under the will of its new master, Yu-Yang, charging into the sky, turning into a unique rainbow. With the help of Nirvana flame and invisible sword chi, under the illumination of the moon of destiny, it returned to eternity. The sovereign of the temple and the guardian of the dead sea looked at each other in shock. Even the strongest five-colored holy light couldn't do anything, and was even captured and transformed by the enemy. Are we really going to die in this battle? No, I will never admit defeat. The battle on the other side had ended. Little Mother had personally released Tianyu. Tianyu, who had escaped from the garden, was still confident. His will only wavered for a second before returning to normal. He still had unparalleled divine power. In the garden, he didn't defeat his opponent, but he wasn't injured either. He was sure that it was just a blurry dream that didn't affect him at all. The guardian of the Dead Sea, who had lost his strongest battle power, remained silent. Such was fate. How could a human be able to reverse it? Moreover, Titan Yu was the future Holy Sovereign. No matter if he admitted it or denied it, it was an unchangeable fact. With his current strength, even with Tianyu, how could he kill a Holy Sovereign? No, it was impossible. Not to mention killing him. Even being defeated in battle was impossible. That was a heavenly moat that could not be crossed. Titan Yu's fate had long been decided, and was completely in his hands. As for his and Tianyu's fate, it was still unknown. Just this alone was already a crushing defeat. All of you die. Queen Vivian Li, who was holding a blade dripping with blood, pointed at the enemy and coldly declared her judgment. In front of her, Sovereign Shihong, Tianyu, had already fallen, heavily injured and on the verge of death. Sovereign Shihong had already tried his best, but he really couldn't fight against the conquering Queen's blade. He struggled for a while, and slowly climbed up from the pool of blood. Using the last of his strength, he raised his head and looked at Tianyu. Don't give up, Tianyu. You must always maintain your confidence. You are also one of the contestants in the battle between the Holy Sovereign, so you must believe in yourself. You are also the best. I am your teacher. I am willing to do anything for you. After saying that, from his body, a kind of divine power that gave up everything in life, including his soul, was released. It formed a small ball of divine light filled with wisdom. He floated towards Tianyu. The smile on Supreme Starter Tianchi's face vanished before it could even appear. Not even dust was left behind. It was as if a person like the sailing Supreme Exalt Tianchi had never existed in this world. He had vanished without a trace. Tianyu closed his eyes with an incomparable heartache. First, it was the radiant guardian sovereign, and now it was the sailing sovereign. One teacher after another, they were sacrificed one after another. In the end, he was the only one left. Could it be that this is the price to advance into the divine Exalt realm? Could this be the necessary process to become a holy Exalt? After sacrificing so much, why couldn't he defeat the enemy and reach the goal of his dreams? He reached out his hand and gently grasped the divine light of wisdom in his palm. He slowly absorbed it. When the divine light of wisdom that contained the divine power of setting sail completely disappeared, it also meant that another teacher, in order to help him reach the peak, would forever disappear from his life. Sky Chariot roared at the sky. He, who had completely absorbed the divine power of departure, had gained new enlightenment in terms of intelligence. Whether it was his divine power or his intelligence, he had taken a huge leap forward. Right now, he was at the peak of his life. Sky Chariot even felt that he was only a hair's breadth away from the divine Exalt realm. The final victor is I, Sky Chariot. Only I, Sky Chariot, have the qualifications to ascend to the divine Exalt realm. Only I am the destined one. Sky Chariot now had no doubt that he could defeat the enemy. This wasn't just the confidence that came from his strength, but also the confirmation that came from the sublimation of his intelligence. He even felt that he had sacrificed too much for the divine Exalt realm. Now, it was finally time to reap the rewards. Everything had become a natural process. Yes, He had regained his confidence. No matter who Titan you was, no matter who his opponent was, he now maintained the strongest and most unshakable confidence. Could Titan you represent his mother? No, this was a predestined battle between him and her. No one could interfere. Come, let's fight again. The current me already has higher intelligence and greater power. This time, your creation will not be of any use. Sky Chariot reached out to Little Mother and made a gesture of invitation. This battle is completely meaningless. However, as long as you persevere, I will still give you a chance. The Little Mother sighed, as if she was watching a drowning person struggling deeper into the water, but she was powerless to save him. She waved her hand, signaling Yu Yang, Jizun, Fei Wen Li, and the others to step back. She decided to fight alone and let Tianyu, who had regained his confidence, completely give up. Sky Chariot unleashed his strongest divine power. Divine power spread out like a heavenly net. It covered every inch of space in the balanced scale world. Even the sand and water droplets were all under his control. Divine light burst forth from the millions of temples. Each temple bestowed him with a unique existence and unique law, greatly increasing the power of Sky Chariot's divine power. Ha! Sky Chariot swung his fist. A heavy punch filled with confidence. Divine light shot out like a pillar towards Little Mother opposite him. More than half of the balanced scale world was destroyed by this all-penetrating divine light. Even someone as strong as the Guardian of the Dead Sea hurriedly distanced himself from the center of the great destruction. Yu Yang and the Phantom Moon Goddess raised the eternal moon together. Only then could they protect the women. His Majesty and the Night Empress looked at the battlefield worriedly. Under this unparalleled divine power attack, what happened to Little Mother? Jizun and Queen Vivian Li looked at each other. Even they were not sure. Sky Chariot's punch just now had far exceeded their expectations. Sky Chariot, who had obtained all the wisdom and divine power of Qihong, had indeed grown to an immeasurable and terrifying realm. The smoke dissipated. In the center of the ruins where the law of the balanced scale world was slowly recovering, there was a figure floating safely. Everything on her body was still intact. This kind of unexpected discovery, even Yu Yang could not believe it. How is this possible? Sky Chariot's eyes widened. No matter how powerful you are, as long as you choose the wrong target and punch towards the sky, you will not be able to hit the starlight in the sky, even if it covers the entire universe. You and I are not in the same realm at all. Standing on the ground, you may be able to overturn rivers and seas, but you don't know that you can't even lift your feet off the ground. Little Mother shook her head and sighed. Not only can I soar in the sky, I can also roam in the starry sky, from one world to another. Your fist will never hit me. This fated battle was originally a battle of wits and realms, but you gave up on those and chose power. It was equivalent to abandoning gold and jade and choosing sand. So, from the moment you made your choice, the result was already decided. No, don't even think of shaking my mind. Sky Chariot felt that this might be a trick of the enemy. Even if she dodged this punch, she would not be able to dodge the next one. I think perhaps you have been misled by some kind of power, or perhaps from the beginning until now, you have been under this kind of misdirection at all times, including Dongfang and your teachers. Every single one of them, whether intentionally or inadvertently, played a role. Little Mother guessed. Any words are useless. Only power is my eternal. Dongfang would not believe the enemy's words. This guy is crazy. Yu Yang finally understood. Sky Chariot had already dug his way into a dead end. Any rational person could see the problem, but he just did not believe it. Or perhaps Sky Chariot also had his doubts, but his power was too great, and in a desperate situation, he continued to believe in power. So he became stubborn, digging his way into a dead end and not coming out. The Guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign sighed. The battle is over. It's over. Sky Chariot angrily stopped him. No, it's not over. We still have power. We still have the power to continue fighting. Persevere. As long as we continue to persevere, continue to fight, then victory will definitely be ours. You are a sovereign, Your mind cannot be disturbed by the enemy. We still have the advantage. Why should we give up? No, we should continue to work hard and never give up. I'm tired. The guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign's eyes dimmed. I'm really tired. No, don't be like this. Sky Chariot roared. Perhaps eternal rest is not a bad idea. I'm starting to understand now why the seniors gave up, chose eternal rest, because they also went through the same process, so they made the same choice. We are just repeating the path that the seniors once walked, repeating the journey that they once walked in their lives. The guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign had already seen through the essence. Don't even think about being a deserter. No, you can't leave like this. I will not allow it. Sky Chariot roared angrily, his fists, like raindrops, smashing towards the guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign who was about to enter eternal rest. Sky Chariot, in such a desperate moment, actually swung his fists at his comrade. The guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign's body swayed, his huge divine body tottering under Sky Chariot's attack. If before, his strength could be said to be firmly above Sky Chariot, after the Guardian of Light and the Guardian of Qihong completely dedicated themselves, Sky Chariot's strength had already surpassed this super expert whose divine body reached 60,000 meters tall. Boom, 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 the divine body shattered. But the Guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign didn't dodge, didn't even try to resist, and took Sky Chariot's furious attack head-on. The soaring flames on the divine throne behind him gradually extinguished, not only because of Sky Chariot's attack, but also because of the Guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign's will of eternal rest. He would rather die at the hands of his comrade than fight again. Oh, why? Why? Sky Chariot couldn't understand it all. I'm tired. The Guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign's eyes were filled with exhaustion. We still have strength, Sky Chariot roared angrily. Yes, but what does strength alone mean? The peerless emperor was peerless, and his strength was not inferior to mine, but he didn't fight me, and instead chose to carry the sacred mountain to fill up the sea, and died in front of me. The Guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign looked back at the sacred mountain. Back then, I was just like you, very confused. But now I understand. Power doesn't mean everything. Only wisdom is eternal. He didn't fight me because he understood this. So, he chose to fight in another way. He defeated me long ago with his wisdom, and only now do I understand. Eternal rest isn't a bad choice. Yu Yang felt that it would take a lot of effort to defeat the Guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign. Now that the Guardian of the Dead Sea was in eternal rest, Yu Yang was happy to stop fighting. I really envy the peerless emperor. The Guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign looked at the sacred mountain. He stretched out his hand. His action seemed to be inviting the enemy to fight again. But from Yu Yang's point of view, it was more like a form of respect. In his life, it is so wonderful. No matter what, there was always someone who worried about him, who missed him. Even in death, they stayed together, not like me, lonely and lonely. The Guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign was very envious of the love between the peerless emperor and the flower fairy. He looked up at the sky and sighed. At least you were once in love, so vigorous and vigorous. As for me, I have nothing. Zong, you are not lonely. Suddenly, a god, whose power and realm surpassed the Guardian of the Dead Sea in all aspects, descended upon the Dead Sea. His divine body was 80,000 meters long. The Guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign, whose divine body was 60,000 meters tall, was like a small person compared to this god. They couldn't be compared at all. The face and body of the god, who had an 80,000 meter tall divine body, were no different from the Guardian of the Dead Sea. They were like twin brothers in the world. Appearance, exactly the same. Go back with me, my little brother. Zong, you're not lonely, you are never lonely. The 80,000 meter tall god stretched out his hand and caressed the head of the Guardian of the Dead Sea Sovereign, his face emitting a kind divine light. Chapter 1394. Please don't touch my head anymore. I'm not a kid anymore. My life is up to me. Please don't use your will to interfere with my decision, okay? Whether it's right or wrong, it's my choice. The Dead Sea Guardian looked up at his brother with a solemn expression. Since the day I left, I've decided not to go back. There's no need for two identical lives in the upper heaven realm. I must have my own life, my own home. Zong, the two of us are similar, but we're not the same. You have your own life and your freedom. No one can deny that. Furthermore, there's nothing bad about our birth. Back then, countless lives envied us for being the same. Zong, my beloved brother, I've never interfered with your will. I'm even more unwilling to do so. As for you, I like you from the bottom of my heart. No matter what you do, I respect you. You know that. The 80,000-meter tall, she advised gently. You've been away from home for too long. Let's go back. As long as you take a step back and stop being so stubborn, we'll be able to return to where we belong. If I could take a step back, I would have done so long ago. The Dead Sea Guardian shook his head. I don't want to go back either. I'm not your shadow. I belong to myself. Zong, you're not my shadow. You've never been. A pained expression appeared on Shi's face. This is the wrong prejudice of outsiders. No matter what, it's the truth. The Dead Sea Guardian smiled. It's fine. I'm not as outstanding as you, and I don't have your comprehension. After so many years, I've already seen through it and don't care about what others think. However, I won't go back with you. This place belongs to me, not that so-called home in the upper heaven realm. This is where I belong. Why? A perplexed look appeared on Shi's face. Why are you always so extreme and stubborn? Because you're not me. The guardian paragon of the dead, Sea stretched out his hand towards Shi and waved. His entire being seemed to have been liberated as he turned and walked towards the Dead Sea. Goodbye, my elder brother. Shi, you're a good elder brother, but that is not what I need the most. As a younger brother, what I need is freedom and independence. I should have my whole life and not be someone else's shadow. Turn back. It's not too late to turn back now. Golden tears flowed down from Shi's eyes. I have never regretted my choice. The upper half of the Guardian of the Dead Sea slowly sank into the Dead Sea. The divine fire burning on the divine throne was slowly extinguishing. Thank you for accompanying me through such a strange life. My elder brother, the expert I respect the most in my heart. Goodbye. Goodbye. She closed his eyes in sorrow. The guardian paragon of the dead, Sea, gave up everything. The divine power dissipated. In the end, he sealed his life and soul in the abyss of the Dead Sea and fell into eternal slumber, turning into an eternal but lonely stone. Shi's 80,000-meter tall body shed golden tears like rain, dripping onto the Dead Sea. If he wanted to, he moved to stop them. Her brother wouldn't have ended up like this. However, he respected his younger brother's choice. Even if his younger brother chose to leave alone, as the elder brother, he could only reluctantly send him off. She shook his head and let out a long sigh. He raised his hand to greet little mother and Yuyang. I have no intention of interfering with the duel between you two. On the contrary, I respect the result of the fated duel. No matter what, the various races in the upper heaven realm will gladly accept it. As soon as he finished speaking, Yuyang, whose heart was hanging in the air, heaved a sigh of relief. The guardian paragon of the dead, Sea, was already hard enough. With his elder brother here, it was hard to say. Fortunately, on the other side, she bowed towards the ancient passageway again. He greeted Old Man Fan River, who was hopping around with a fishing basket on his back and a fishing rod in his hand. Senior, this private matter has been settled. She will take his leave first. Go, go. Old Man Fan River waved his hand indifferently. This old man came here to discuss fishing with that mischievous brat. It has nothing to do with you. Who wants to discuss fishing with you? Yuyang was furious when he heard this. As a senior, if he couldn't fight, you would help him fight? Now that the duel was over, you actually came here to discuss fishing. Do you know how dangerous it was just now? Old Man Fan River was not angry. You don't have time. I will wait for you. I'm not in a hurry. Little girl, you are here too. It's fine. You can busy yourself. I'm mainly looking for that brat. She turned into a ray of divine light and left. Tianyu's heart, that had originally lit up with a glimmer of hope, was instantly filled with disappointment. A super strong god-level expert, and the older brother of the guardian paragon of the Dead Sea. He was extremely powerful, but he did not come to help him. Not only that, Titan Yu also came with an unreliable senior helper. Although he did not look strong, he was still an old senior. If they were to fight later, it might be a little troublesome. Life sacrifice. Just as the battle was paused, Scarlet Warden Tantai Tumye shouted. Thousands of blood blades pierced out from his body. Then, they twisted crazily. The moment before his body was crushed, Tantai Tumye shouted at Tianyu. Lord Temple Paragon, this is a trap. The enemy has already set everything up. There is no point in staying here. Please break free from the fate laws and leave through your own life passage. The loyal Tantai Tumye used his own blood and life to tear open a spatial crack in the balance world. Although it was far from the ancient passage that the Guardian Paragon of Light had painstakingly built, but this crack obtained in exchange for life. It could temporarily break free from the fate laws of the balance world. You are courting death. Tantai Tumye's actions angered Queen Vivian Li. She slashed with her warblade. The destruction power pierced through the sky and struck Tantai Tumye's soul. Tianyu finger, the divine light, was like a spear, deflecting the destruction power that was shaped like a warblade. Her other hand was half clenched. The divine power was like a shield, protecting Tantai Tumye's defenseless soul that had just left his body. But no matter how strong Tianyu's power was, it could not protect Tantai Tumye's soul. The ancient laws of the balance world countered. The arrogant soul that had ruined the fate of the Holy Supremes was annihilated by the origin power of the world. Everything returned to chaos. As the Scarlet Warden, Tantai Tumye, a super expert who used to look down on everyone, instantly disappeared in the backlash of the laws. Of course, this was completely within his expectations. But in order to get Tianyu out of this extremely disadvantageous situation, in order to give his lord a chance to start over, the loyal Scarlet Warden was willing to use his life and soul in exchange. He succeeded. Although his soul was annihilated, the spatial crack obtained from the sacrifice of his life still existed. Carefree Sky and Joyous Sky burst into tears. Ultimate Sky roared madly. But nothing could change the fact that it had already existed. Not to mention Tantai Tumye, a loyal subordinate who had fought side by side for 10,000 years. Even a more powerful Guardian Paragon of Light and Sailing Paragon treated them equally in front of the ancient will of the balance world. Go. We will guard here and protect you. My lord, please cherish this opportunity. Carefree Sky knelt respectfully in front of Tianyu. Please leave. Joyous Sky also lowered his head and asked Tianyu to leave. We are the Guardian War Beasts. We will never die, so please do not worry about us. Ultimate Sky screamed, this fate battle is not fair at all. We do not need to abide by the restrictions of the ancient rules. My lord, please leave quickly. We believe that you have the highest wisdom and supreme power. Even if you do not become a Holy Supremes today, you will definitely reach that level in the future. My lord, please do not waste our good intentions. Please leave quickly. Tianyu's hands trembled. How could he not know how bad the situation was now? But he was caught in the most difficult choice. On one hand, it was the selfless sacrifice of the Guardian Paragon of Light and Sailing Paragon, who told him to always be confident. On the other hand, it was Tantai Tumye and Carefree Sky who used their lives to warn him, asking him to leave immediately, preserve his strength, and wait for a better opportunity. His current self, be in strength or wisdom, both were close to perfection, only one step away from becoming a Holy Supremes. Should he give up now, or should he persist? Should he choose to pass through the spatial crack created by the exchange of lives and escape the Libra world? Or should he continue to fight, persevere until the end, and become a Holy Supremes? Now, I have two choices in front of me. Tianyu closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and regained his confidence. He reached out a hand towards Carefree Sky, as if to touch their heads, and his voice became incomparably gentle. I know your hearts. Tantai Tumye even sacrificed everything for me. I also hope that his sacrifice will become more valuable, but I can't do that because if I abandon my confidence, abandon this opportunity in front of me and become a coward who flees at the last minute, then I will never be able to obtain the qualification to participate in this fated battle like today. That would be a true failure, and only then would everyone's sacrifice become worthless. But, Carefree Sky trembled. For all those who have sacrificed their lives to support us until today, we must persist. Tianyu made his final decision. Actually, even if you want to leave, it is impossible. Elder Fan River took out a fruit from his bosom and gnawed on it. The divine gate is closed, and the final battle has begun. Anyone can only join, and there is no possibility of escape, let alone you, the main character of the battle. Then wouldn't Tantai, Tumia have died for nothing? Fatty Hai laughed heartily when he heard this. Aya, so pitiful. Yi Kong sighed pretentiously. Damn it. The only one who was truly dissatisfied was Cheong Chi, that joker who loved to fight. Tantai Tumia was originally a good opponent, but in order to let Tianyu escape, he actually sacrificed his life for nothing. This is the fate of an accomplice. Queen Vivian Lee's cold gaze swept across Carefree Sky and the Divine Palace warriors, and he is just the beginning. Kill. With Sky Execution as the leader, the three Tong Tian clans erupted with fighting spirit. The one charging at the forefront was that despicable dog, Hui Tai Lang. Tianyu was furious. Just as he raised his hand, he saw Ji Zun standing in front of him. Noticing that Ji Zun was standing in front of him, her gaze was as sharp as a sword. You'd better not move, or else I will definitely cut off one of your arms. Tianyu, who had never been threatened in his life, was enraged. Anger erupted from his eyes, and his divine power transformed into millions of divine weapons, blasting towards Ji Zun and all the enemies in the balanced world. Destroy. Little Mother waved her hand lightly, and all the divine weapons became invisible. She waved her hand again. Create. The annihilated divine power was recreated due to the ancient laws of the balanced world. According to Little Mother's will, it turned into petals. They danced between heaven and earth. The sky was filled with petals. Pieces. On the other side, Ji Zun appeared behind Yu Yang in a flash and stabbed him in the back like a sword. The sword of life shot out from Yu Yang's heart, carrying her killing intent and Yu Yang's blood. Supplemented by the irresistible divine power of fate, it pierced down unstoppably. Happy Sky struck with both palms, sending Carefree Sky and Ultimate Sky flying. As Ultimate Sky and Carefree Sky howled in grief, the sword of life pierced deeply into Happy Sky's forehead. Happy Sky's face didn't have the usual melancholy, nor the fear of facing death. He was smiling, calm. Turning his face, he took a deep look at Tianyu, then turned back and gently waved to his companions. Carefree Sky and Ultimate Sky. This is the result I hoped for the most. From the moment I was born, I knew my fate. However, I, who was destined to have a tragic ending, never wanted to die a worthless death. So, to be able to save you, even if it's just for a moment, is an incomparable honor. Happy Sky, don't give up. We are Guardian War Beasts. We will never die. Ultimate Sky tried his best to comfort his companions, but his tears couldn't stop falling. Guardian War Beasts indeed won't die, but when they revive, it won't be the previous me. Happy Sky smiled slightly. Goodbye, Happy Sky, my brother. Carefree Sky waved goodbye to Happy Sky. Goodbye. Happy Sky's voice gradually faded. I'm really happy to have you along the way. Happy Sky, my brother, please leave first. Carefree Sky knelt down to Tianyu and bowed respectfully. Master, the enemy is strong. We also have to bid farewell. Our strength is too weak to help Master ascend to the top. We are very ashamed. Although we haven't been together for a long time, in our hearts, we all have incomparable respect for Master. You are the greatest glory of our lives. My Master, I wish you good luck. I wish you good luck. Ultimate Sky had never been so polite because he knew that the final moment had come. Gradually sealed in the sword of life, the divine light was only a little bit of Happy Sky. It was also faintly swaying, making his final farewell. Tianyu, once again closed his eyes. He couldn't bear to see his companions and subordinates sacrifice themselves for him. But since he had chosen the path of the Holy Sovereign, he had no other choice. The spatial crack that Tantai Tumia created with his life sacrifice disappeared, and Happy Sky's divine light also disappeared completely. He was eternally sealed in the rune core of the Wall of Sighs by Jizun's Sword of Life and Yu Yang's divine power of destiny. If Jizun and Yu Yang didn't die, then Happy Sky would never be able to escape. I will kill you all, tighten you. I will let you all suffer the same pain as me. Temple Sovereign Tianyu decided to make Yu Yang a loner like him. Your opponent is me. Little Mother reminded him, if your central shrine had the same feeling when you slaughtered billions of other living beings, then you wouldn't have caused so much killing. The evil karma that all of you sowed previously must now be paid with your blood and lives. Only then will it be worthy of the bitter fruit that all of you have harvested. Everything that all of you have today was brought upon yourselves. Don't blame others. That's right, when you slaughter my heaven stairway people, did you ever think of this day? Jizun's cold eyes looked down at the next target. Masvara or Ultimate Sky? Our tears have never been merciful. Today, you won't be forgiven either. Night Empress' attitude was resolute. Then let's fight to the death. Tianyu roared. In this world, the strong were respected. Who was stronger? Then he would be the winner, and he could have everything without any dispute. Tianyu raised his fist. With his super strength, Jizun's would never waver. Even if he faced an opponent that was almost impossible to defeat, he was still full of confidence and insisted on fighting to the end. Come, all of you, come at me together. Let's see who can defeat me, Tianyu. Is it you who is destined to fight? Or Conquest Queen Fei Wenli? Or the self-proclaimed Holy Sovereign Titan Yu? All of you, come at me together. I, Tianyu, will show you what is called power, what is called invincibility. Chapter 1395. I want to continue fighting, no matter if it's 10 million years, 10,000 years. I will not stop fighting. I will never give up. So the final victor must be me. Tianyu's conviction had already reached the limit. Nothing could be changed. Stubborn. Old man Fan Jiang, who had been quietly observing, shook his head and sighed, no longer looking at him, and happily nibbled on the fruit in his hand. Tianyu resolutely rushed towards Little Mother, even though he knew that his attacks were useless, but he still persisted. No matter how many punches he threw, no matter if he hit or not, he continued, because he firmly believed that if he continued to attack, the enemy would collapse because of his own willpower and strength. You who don't even know the power of the world and the power of life are just a barbarian bull. Doing this is meaningless, but since this is your choice as an opponent, I don't mind. Little Mother's slender hand moved. She used the power of life to magically create a space in the world of scales, pink, like a sea of flowers, wrapping Tianyu within. The basic law of this sea of flowers space was the creation of life, the opposite of destruction. Before Tianyu understood the mysteries of the power of life, he would not be able to smoothly leave this seemingly fragile world of flowers. Destruction. Tianyu firmly believed that with the power he grasped, he could destroy everything. His divine power continued to destroy the sea of flowers. But there were even more flowers. In the midst of destruction, new life. Tianyu was like a tireless giant who only knew how to punch. Charging back and forth in the sea of flowers, tears streamed down Zai's face. He knew that his lord had fallen into extreme obsession, treating everything as an illusion, other than himself. He did not believe anyone, but he could not help his lord and could not be vigilant. In that state of obsession, anything that went against his lord's will would be seen as wrong and could not be corrected. His gaze passed by Titan Yu in front of him, looked at his companion, and found that Ultimate Sky was struggling painfully under Fei Wenli's blade. Maybe Ultimate Sky wanted to die now, but that was an extravagant hope. All those who provoked and offended the dignity of the Conquest Queen would have the same tragic ending, and Ultimate Sky was no exception. Thank you. Zai nodded to Yu Yang. Thank you for being willing to preserve a trace of pride for me. Although we are not good friends, we can barely be said to be good enemies. Rest in peace. Your era is over." Yu Yang sighed. "Goodbye." Zazai Tian turned around and glanced at Tian Yu. He retracted his teary gaze and didn't put up any resistance. His soul, under Yu Yang's destiny divine power, it shrunk into a tiny speck of light. Then, after its soul was freed, it fell into a deep slumber. Yu Yang held Mahesvara's soul in his hand and waited for Mahesvara's body to be devoured by the ancient laws of the balance world. Only then did he gently seal this loyal enemy into the wall of sighs. The ultimate heavens were still struggling in pain. Without Fei Wenli's pardon, his punishment would still have to continue. Although his fate of being sealed and sleeping for eternity was already set in stone, before that, he still had to wash away his sins of killing and endure endless torture. What are you howling for? If you don't have such a big head, then don't wear such a big hat. What happened to the feeling of killing others? The mystic dragon was extremely disdainful. I've been hit by a hammer. Even his bones were broken, but he didn't even make a sound. Right? This is a real man. At this time, Qiongqi looked at the mystic dragon with admiration. In this silly guy's heart, even if the mystic dragon was lying on the ground like mud, he was still extraordinarily handsome. Throughout the balance world, thousands of temples were still maintaining the laws, but under the will of His Majesty and the Night Empress, their brilliance gradually faded. Princess Isai, with the prison tiger divine sword in one hand and the sword of fate in the other, and Mingyu Guang, who replaced Shui Wuhan to use the shield of fate, continued to attack the first temple. Drunken Cat, with the halberd of fate, quickly joined in, followed by Aman, who was rotating the hammer of fate, and Sky Law, who was waving the whip of fate. Yu stood a little behind, holding the staff of fate. Fallen Beauty stood side by side with her, her jade fingers. She wore the ring of fate in place of Shui Wuxia. She guided the entire battle. Shui Wuxia, who was holding the pearl of fate, raised her divine sense domain and began to seal the temples with her unparalleled wisdom. After waiting for a long time, Jizun realized that there wasn't much progress. She snorted softly, "Troublesome, get out of the way." Holding the seal of fate with both hands, she soared into the sky. Together with the phantom moon goddess, they instantly turned the balanced world into black and white. Jizun's laws overpowered everything. Rumble. The long corridor connecting the first and second temples was forcefully destroyed by Jizun. In Shui Wuxia's palm, light shone brightly, and the temple in front of her moved on its own. The middle door opened. Having lost the support of the heavenly chariot willpower, it couldn't defend against the attacks of the women for long. The first temple was declared broken. Princess Qianxian took the lead and charged in. She discovered that the warriors of the 3 sky-reaching clans who were trapped inside were fighting bitterly. With a loud roar, she raised the prison tiger divine, sword high up, and drew in millions of lightning bolts, forming a thunderbolt that exploded down from the sky. The warriors of the Temple of Gods inside were charred black from head to toe, and the fragrance of flesh wafted in the air. Great! When the warriors of the 3 sky-reaching clans saw this, they were wild with joy. The Southern Demon King and Mingyu Guang, Yu Bing, Inan, and Lu Yi followed closely behind and rushed into the first temple. Red, who was the fastest, had already flown to the second temple. Outside, only Shui Wuhan was accompanying Fourth Mother. They stood quietly outside the battlefield, waiting quietly. In their hearts, no matter if it was Yu Yang or their little mother, they both had enough confidence. The holy grimoire that Fourth Mother had acknowledged but couldn't bear to form a contract with floated lightly beside her. Seeing that things were progressing smoothly, Shui Wuxia and Princess Isai worked together to break through the first temple. Happy smiles appeared on their little faces. Tian. With the first, the second was much easier. Due to the suppression of Her Majesty, the Night Empress, and the violent interception of the Supreme Martial Artist and the Phantom Moon Goddess, the isolated and helpless temples were divided and broken through one by one. At first, it took some effort, but in the end, the more people there were, the more power they had. Under the leadership of the Sky Execution and the Dragon Emperor, the rescued warriors of the three sky-reaching clans rushed towards the various temples that had been broken through like a flood. Kill, kill! Cheong-chi, who loved to fight, was overjoyed. Previously, he couldn't break through the temples and couldn't enter, so he could only fight against Tantai Tumia. Now, he could finally go on a killing spree. These guys are mine. I'll take them all. The twin-headed Guang also went all out. If he didn't work hard now, when would he? Charge! The cute Qilin girl, Bing Yin, clenched her little fists and rushed forward. Many of the doors of the temples that hadn't been broken through were smashed open by her head. It had to be said, her little brain was much more useful than Princess Sisai's divine sword, especially when it was used to break through the doors. We surrender, we surrender. Heaven-slaughtering god Tu Mia and his brother Tu Wan were pale with fear. Isn't it too early to say surrender now? Supreme Jin and Demon Emperor, the two big shots of the upper realm, looked at each other and smiled. The situation had already developed to this point, and you only said surrender now? Are you sure you're not joking? Heaven-slaughtering god Tu Mia and the others also had their own difficulties. Just now in the temple, their lives were in the hands of Tianyu. Not to mention surrender, even a slight thought would cause them to die without a burial place. If they waited until Tianyu was trapped in the sea of flowers and the temple was broken, how would they dare to say surrender? Kill! Cheong-chi, who loved to fight, roared like thunder and pounced forward. Surrender your mother. I even gave up my identity as an immortal beast to join this battle. I've already taken off my pants, and you're only saying this now? So stupid. Old Man Fan River also had a headache when he saw this clown. Fortunately, one thing could solve another. There was a you-brat taking care of this mess over there. Whether it was good or bad, it had nothing to do with him. Inside the sea of flowers, Tianyu was still bombarding the surroundings tirelessly. His power could instantly destroy the sea of flowers, but in the blink of an eye, the sea of flowers would regenerate again. Let's end this destined battle here. There's no point in continuing. Little Mother saw that the last temple was also broken through by Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai. The last temple warrior had already been smashed into a meat patty by Fatty Hai. She shook her head and waved her hand at the crazy Tianyu, indicating that the battle was over. You can go. Of course, you can also stay and witness my advancement to Holy Supreme as an enemy. I hope that my suggestion can make you realize your mistake. As a seeded player, Tianyu, you don't lack talent, and you're outstanding enough. It's just that you're too stubborn. Don't try to deceive me with flowery words. Even though the temple had been completely destroyed, Tianyu's expression didn't change as he stood proudly. The outcome has been decided. Little Mother was unwilling to continue. No, I will never admit it. Tianyu's will was firm. All right, now, let me experience the glory of the so-called Heaven Realm's strongest. Queen Vivian Li, who was heavily injured and exhausted after a few battles, dragged her blade and swam into the sea of flowers. With just you, Tianyu looked down on her. If she wasn't injured, this conquest queen would still be worth fearing. But now, even a child would be able to knock her down with a single punch. However, although he knew that Fei Wenli was no match for him, Tianyu didn't mind killing one more enemy. In his eyes, only enemies who were all dead were the best enemies. Yes, with just me. Fei Wenli raised her blade with difficulty. She slashed down. Tian, you didn't even move to block. He casually stretched out his finger, and the divine light exploded like a pillar, rumbling towards Fei Wenli's body. Fei Wenli didn't dodge either. Perhaps she didn't even have the strength to dodge. She waved the blade in her hand without dodging, as if she wanted to slash at the enemy, with both of them injured. The divine light was 1,000 times faster than the blade. But the strange thing was, when the blade slashed Tianyu's shoulder, the divine light hadn't reached Fei Wenli's face yet. Impossible! Tianyu looked incredulously at his shoulder that was oozing with golden divine blood. He couldn't believe that he, who was wearing the divine armor with unparalleled defense, couldn't withstand the enemy's slash, and couldn't believe that his divine light couldn't hit the enemy. When he looked carefully, he found that his divine light was moving slowly in the sea of flowers, constantly destroying everything along the way, but it was blocked by the sea of flowers that was constantly growing. The speed was getting slower and slower, and in the end, it was like a snail crawling. The rumbling, powerful divine light beam hadn't reached Fei Wenli yet. It disappeared without a trace. Queen Vivian Li smiled coldly. Your power of destruction is far greater than your creation. As for eternity, as the temple's supreme elder, you don't know what true eternity is. How pitiful. After she finished speaking, she turned around and threw away the blade in her hand. So it's just a pitiful worm. I won't fight anymore. Tianyu felt that this was the greatest shame he had ever suffered in his life. It was nothing more than this. The enemy actually stopped fighting because she looked down on him and felt that it was beneath her to fight with him. Damn it! You don't even have half of my current strength. What qualifications do you have to humiliate me? Tianyu couldn't help but be angry. Although he tried his best to control it, the anger still erupted from his heart like a volcano. You are indeed a pitiful worm. Yu Yang appeared behind him and nodded in agreement. A pitiful worm with great power. What did you say? Tianyu was furious. When I beat you until even your mother can't recognize you, I'll tell you. Yu Yang stretched out his hand with a smile on his face and grabbed Tianyu's neck. This super strong enemy who had previously beaten his fallen flowers violently, like a giant crushing a little dwarf, directly lifted Tianyu from the ground, lifted him to the highest point, and smashed him on the ground of the sea of flowers. Fists fell like rain. Fists and kicks intersected. Little Wenli, this little girl, also came up to join the fun. The two of them worked together to completely stun Tianyu, who had great divine power. Impossible. This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The opponent clearly showed less than a tenth of his strength. The enemy is weak. I am strong. How can he suppress me? Is this a dream? Is Princess Yimeng playing tricks? Or is this a hallucination of you, Tatan's mother? You had a good time beating me up just now, didn't you? Now, this young master will return it all to you. Yu Yang grabbed Tianyu and beat him up unceremoniously. There's interest too. This is a dream. Tianyu couldn't accept this reality. Huh, you can think this is a dream. This is a dream like the 10th stage of the trial grimoire, a surreal existence with great divine power. The Temple's Supreme Tianyu. Have you realized? You are just a pitiful worm. You have destruction, but not enough creation, and you don't have insight into true eternity. You don't even have an eternity that belongs to you. You're just a cripple. You don't have hands. You walk on one foot, yet you still want to compete for the Holy Supreme position? You're the one dreaming. Yu Yang violently beat up Tianyu. Stop. There's no need to deliberately humiliate him. No matter what, he did work hard for this. Don't laugh at other people's efforts. Not only him, many people have worked hard for this. No matter what, we should face it. The little mother expressed that Tianyu was just working hard in the wrong direction. She didn't look down on him, nor did she laugh at him. On the contrary, she respected all efforts from the bottom of her heart, whether right or wrong. Tianyu stood up. He found that his injuries had instantly recovered, and immediately, confidence returned to the bottom of his heart. This is a dream. Don't you think you can shake my will? Yu Yang shrugged and spread his hands. For you, it is indeed a dream, and a nightmare that you don't dare to wake up from. Without creation, you wouldn't be able to understand the true meaning of life. Without eternity that belonged to you, no matter how much divine power you possessed, it was only given to you by others. This kind of stacked sand tower was only powerful on the surface. It would never reach the level of elegance. Keep dreaming, Tianyu. We are even. I am no longer angry. Yu Yang, who held grudges the most in his life, suddenly found the enemy in a very sad situation. He didn't attack. Instead, he left, because he was very black-bellied. More attacks in his life would awaken the enemy's paranoia. Even though the possibility of this happening was extremely small, he was still unwilling to take the risk. Stop. Tian Yu saw Yu Yang, who had once again stored his divine power of destiny, turn around and left like Fei Wenli. The humiliation in his heart was even greater. He would rather be pressed to the ground and beaten by the enemy like just now than see the enemy disregard him with such contempt. Goodbye, Tian Yu. In the course of my life, you are already a passerby. Yu Yang felt that this guy was still quite strong, but he was too pitiful. He didn't know when it started, but he had always been cheated by others. Until not long ago, he was even cheated by Dongfang ruthlessly. If it was a weakling, it would be fine, but it just had to be a divine-level expert with unparalleled divine power and super high intelligence. What would people say? Mockery, or compassion overflowing with compassion. Sai, forget it. Let's just ignore him. In order not to hurt the fragile little heart of the #1 expert of the Great Light Mountain Central Shrine, let's just quietly pass by. On the other side, the will of the Divine Mountain produced some kind of strange fluctuation. So did the Dead Sea. Even the Divine Gate was trembling slightly. The ancient will of the balanced world projected onto the body of the Little Mother, causing her divine body born from the divine light to grow infinitely. This was the official recognition of the ancient rules. The predestined confrontation was over. The winner. From this moment on, she was the future divine sovereign, the new master of the balanced world. Chapter 1396. Defeated, completely defeated. Even though Tian Yu believed that he still had the strength to continue fighting, but the truth was already in front of him. No matter how he struggled, he could not change the situation. The will of the sacred mountain, the will of the Dead Sea, and the ancient rules of the balanced world all recognized the opponent. In this grand and powerful, fateful confrontation between the Holy Supremes, Little Mother was the real winner. If she did not deliberately stay, the repulsion of the balanced world would have long thrown the defeated Tian Yu out of the Divine Gate. She's departure. The self-seal of the Dead Sea Guardian Zong, the destruction of the Divine Temple, the plight of the Sea of Flowers, and the death of his subordinates, made the confident Tian Yu feel despair. Ah! The Divine Temple Supreme Tian Yu could not accept this reality and laughed wildly. In order to pursue the Holy Supremes, the Great Light Mountain and the entire Central Shrine sacrificed everything. Everything that could be sacrificed was sacrificed. But in exchange, it was still a failure. This super ironic fate, it made Tian Yu go crazy. The ancient rules of the balanced world suppressed Tian Yu, making him unable to move. Without the will of Little Mother, the new master of the balanced world, Tian Yu would be like this for the rest of his life. Power was meaningless in front of the Holy Supreme's will. Tian Yu was going crazy, but no one had the time to care about him. Everyone was looking at Little Mother. Now, it was an important moment for her to shoulder the fate and ascend to the Holy Supremes. Old Man Fan River stroked the long beard on his chin and nodded in satisfaction. He then patted Yu Yang's shoulder and smiled. Kid, do what you need to do. When I have time, I will teach you the most powerful fishing technique. I'm going fishing. From now on, the matters of Tong Tian Tower will be handed over to you. I don't know how much time I have wasted because of these troublesome matters. Yu Yang rolled his eyes. You still have a nerve to say that? If you had managed Tong Tian Tower one day, it would not be like this. Fortunately, after many twists and turns, Tong Tian Tower still had a better ending. Otherwise, as a senior, you would have committed a great sin. Who cares? Fishing is a good entertainment if you can fish and drink at the same time. Yu Yang originally wanted this old man to leave immediately, but with Fourth Mother here, he had to pretend to be a good child. When Fourth Mother looked over, his attitude immediately improved a lot. Farewell, senior. Unlike Yu Yang, Fourth Mother and the others were extremely respectful towards Old Man Fan River. Even Ji Zun and Fei Wenli were no exception. Let's go, don't miss me too much. Old Man Fan Jiang ran away, making Yu Yang's teeth itch. If it wasn't for Fourth Mother, he would count himself lucky if he didn't kick the old man half to death. Little Mama was summoning her own summoning grimoire, a holy grimoire that was as smooth as jade and a divine grimoire that shone brilliantly. The fate-bearing ceremony began, and the fate light pillar pointed straight into the sky. The warriors of the three sky-reaching clans all knelt down. Even the faces of Tianzhu Dragon Emperor and the others were filled with sincerity. The ones who were the most excited were none other than the old fox, Jun Wuyu, Elder Yu Hai, and the others. Not only did they help Yu Yang grow and ascend to the Holy Supreme Elder realm, they were also helping the second Holy Supreme Elder to ascend to the top. Tong Tian Tower's downfall, suffering, and unpredictable future fate will all end in my hands. Little Mama floated into the sky, a solemn and extraordinary divine light shining brightly on her body. Her slender, lily-white hands spread out, and millions of rays of light gathered softly within them. The three celestial flowers that revolved around her were even blossoming with a rich fragrance that seeped into one's heart and soul. I am willing to shoulder the fate of the three sky-reaching clans. In the name of the future Holy Supreme Elder, I will create beauty and happiness, destroy calamity and misfortune, and turn living beings, life and vitality into eternity. May the dead rest in peace. May the dead be immortal, and the living be eternal. Little Mama looked up at the sky. Whether in the past or in the future, it will always be the same. The energy light pillars of the two grimoires intertwined and rose upwards. Gradually, it transformed into a fate light pillar that was 12,000 meters tall. This was the fate that the three sky-reaching clans had to shoulder, including the past and future. All living beings needed to be freed from this fate energy. Because Yu Yang had previously shouldered the fate of all living beings in the Tong Tian Tower, Little Mama's current advancement conditions were more reasonable. Although it exceeded the requirements, it did not exceed them by too much. Seeing the height of this fate light pillar, Queen Vivian Li's heart relaxed a little. She did not care about her heavy injuries and immediately stretched out her hands. His Majesty was faster than her. Night Empress and Fourth Mother were also unwilling to fall behind. One by one, they stretched out their hands to shoulder the fate for Little Mama. Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, Shui Tanlang, Prince of Tianluo, and the Li brothers had long raised their forest-like arms. The warriors of the three sky-reaching clans had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Sky Execution, Dragon Emperor, and the others stood at the forefront. Old Fox, Jun Wuyu, and the others followed closely behind, raising their hands high up. Gold Sovereign and Demon Emperor looked at each other and smiled. Qiongqi glanced at the two-headed dragon Guang and snorted unhappily. He quickly raised his hands high up. The two-headed dragon Guang and the beautiful Queen Thousand Bones Paralysis were unwilling to be left behind. They hurriedly declared, "Although we are not from the Tong Tian Tower and have made mistakes before, we have already turned over a new leaf. We are also willing to join them. For the sake of the future Divine Sovereign, we are willing to sacrifice, give everything, and do our best to shoulder the fate." They had previously seen the warriors of the three sky-reaching clans shoulder the fate for Yu Yang. Now that they had such a good opportunity, how could they miss it? The shadow gods also raised their hands in surprise and joy. They were willing to sacrifice for the future Divine Sovereign. The investment they made today would be the rarest, most precious, and most worthwhile opportunity in their lives. Even if it was not unprecedented, it would still take at least tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years for an opportunity like this to appear once in a while. Not to mention them, even the demon dragon, who was lying on the ground, raised his hands with great effort, hoping that he could help a little. "Can we do it too?" Shui Wuxiao reached out her hand. She realized that she, who had wholeheartedly assisted Yu Yang, could also shoulder the fate for her little mother. She couldn't help but be overjoyed. Princess Sisai and the others couldn't wait any longer. They grabbed her hand and held on to Fallen Beauty on the other side. Everyone held hands. Yu Bing, Inan, Sky Law, and the others formed a big circle. They shouldered the fate energy together as one. Ming Yu Guang and the others joined them. Their jade-like hands gently pressed on Shui Wuxiao's back. Hui Tai Lang rushed towards Fatty Hai and Yikong's side. It had wanted to get closer to Yu Yang just now. But before it could get close, it was almost kicked away by Yu Yang, who was carrying Jizun. You want to be a third wheel? You're courting death. Put it down. Jizun came to her senses and glared at Yu Yang. Fortunately, because the timing wasn't right, she wasn't too angry. She just raised her hand with difficulty, wanting to shoulder the fate for her little mother. The illusory moon goddess came over and winked at him. What are you waiting for? Let's do it together. Yu Yang understood. He mustered up his courage and grabbed Jizun's small hand. On the other hand, he grabbed the illusory moon goddess's soft hand. And little Wenli wasn't tall enough. She could only hug Yu Yang's thigh. Jizun glared angrily. But under the pressure of the fate energy, she couldn't move at all. She could only let this little thief have his way for now. The holy Jizun was about to be born. Under the fate energy, the whole Tongtian Tower was shaking. An ancient power that had been dormant, an ancient will that had never appeared before, was awakened by this special summoning. They gathered like a tide, carrying a 3,000-meter tall divine power of fate on their backs, and poured into the little mother's divine grimoire. At the same time, a powerful ancient will emerge from the Heaven Stairway World Tree. Together with the ancient will in the Times Square in the God's ruins, they formed two light, dragon-like pillars that intertwined with each other. They stood in front of the little mother, also carrying the fate energy that was 3,000 meters tall. The Divine Mountain and the Dead Sea, these two wills, each carried 1,000 meters. The Divine Gate of the Tianping world. The sleeping ancient was also temporarily awakened for a second in the divine light. In just 1 second, it carried the fate energy that was 1,000 meters tall. There was another one that came from outside the heaven realm. Even Yu Yang didn't know if it was the old man Fan Jiang or some other super expert like the old ghost who carried the 500 meters tall light pillar of fate. At least you guys still have a little conscience. For the first time, Yu Yang had a good impression of old man Fan Jiang and the other seniors, but it was just a little. Come on, we can do it. Fatty Hai and the others shouted excitedly. Amidst the tide-like shouts, they, who were exhausted, gathered together and held up a height of at least 800 meters, all of which were poured into the divine grimoire. Nearly 300 meters of it was the contribution of Supreme Jin, Monster Emperor Qiongqi, the Shadow Gods, and the other Heaven Realm clans that had surrendered. Of course, without Jie, Song Sheng, Qi Dan Zi, and the dying Demon Dragon, it would be impossible for Supreme Jin and the others to hold up the 300-meter light pillar of fate. The 10,300-meter light pillar of fate was poured into the divine grimoire. This had already reached the basic requirement to be promoted to the Holy Jizun, and there was a little left. Fei Wen Li, His Majesty, Night Empress, Fourth Mother, Shui Wuxia, and Princess Sisai carried the fate energy that was poured into the little mother's other divine grimoire. Although everyone was exhausted from the previous battle, they had at least held up a height of 2,000 meters. The light pillar of fate that the little mother needed to carry, the requirement of 12,000 meters, had been fully achieved. Yu Yang, Jizun, Phantom Moon Goddess, and little Wenli did not have time to inject the fate energy into it. At the last tense moment, Yu Yang was a little anxious. How stupid. Qilin Girl Bing pressed a palm on Yu Yang's back. However, what Yu Yang sensed was not the power she was carrying. It was transmission. The combined sword chi from Koki no Koki. This special sword chi, which could only be sensed during dream cultivation, once again entered his body. It immediately stimulated the supreme divine power that had been suppressed in Yu Yang's body for a long time and did not know how to release it without anger. Jizun and the Phantom Moon Goddess, who were connected to his mind, instantly felt as if their bodies were on fire. There was a majestic divine power of destiny that rushed over like a mountain torrent, instantly drowning them within it. Their injuries and fatigue disappeared without a trace in an instant. Yu Yang shouted. It was more shocking than the roar of thousands of people. He raised the light pillar of fate that was unknown high and poured it into the holy grimoire that was as smooth as jade, almost bursting the holy grimoire. The divine power of fate was declared over, and the promotion to the divine sovereign was achieved. The divine light emitted by the two grimoires enveloped the entire balanced world. Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, and the others all turned into light spots and were sucked into the divine grimoire. Queen Vivian Li, His Majesty, Night Empress, and Fourth Mother flew into the holy grimoire along with the rainbow. Yu Yang's hands were empty. Ji Zun and Phantom Moon Goddess disappeared, leaving him alone, standing opposite the little mother. No, there was one more person. Tian Yu, Divine Grimoire the Paragon, Heavenly Chariot, the loser of the fated showdown. The enemy who had witnessed the birth of the Divine Paragon was still in the balanced world, watching everything in despair, struggling madly, but to no avail. Ah, no, impossible. The Divine Sovereign is mine. The prophecy is not like this at all. Tian Yu's eyes were also red with jealousy. The Divine Mountain has not been leveled. The Dead Sea is rippling. This is not in line with the prophecy. How can you be promoted to the Divine Sovereign? It's fake. This is all fake. It's all a lie. I have the will of the Divine Sovereign. Try to deceive me. I know it's you, Yimeng, playing tricks. Don't you dare bully me. I won't believe it. Is it that the Divine Mountain has been leveled? The Dead Sea evaporated prophecy? Yu Yang was also angry when he heard this. You still haven't given up? Fine, I'll let you completely give up. He seemed to feel that the heavenly sword goddess was hiding behind him. Her fingers lightly touched the back of his head. It was the guidance of supreme wisdom. Quietly, into the heart. Koki no Koki's fusion sword chi, under this guidance, erupted hundreds of millions of times, improving. Yu Yang felt as if his body had been opened. The seal that had been restored was pierced through by a sword. His whole body completely activated the divine power of destiny that had been stored in his body for a long time. I want to lift the divine mountain. Fill everything. I want you to be in despair. Yu Yang roared towards the sky. The giant of destiny, for the first time, under the eruption of his reason. Rise. Chapter 1397. The heavenly sword goddess's finger was like an intelligent meteor, piercing through the pitch-black night sky of the mind. Under her guidance, the power of destiny in Yu Yang's body instantly erupted like a volcano. Koki no Koki's combined sword chi converged at the same time, merging into one. Under the dual stimulation, Yu Yang felt that the power of destiny that only a divine supreme martial artist could perfectly control was in his hands, and it had reached an explosive state. The giant of destiny suddenly rose up. All living beings bowed their heads. Everything in heaven and earth, everything in the balanced world, not a single thing wasn't intimidated by it. Yu Yang raised his arms, and, at the same time as the giant of destiny, he raised the sacred mountain high above his head. At this moment, the entire balance scale world was shaking. The Dead Sea in front of Yu Yang shrieked in fear, wailing like a dead spirit of judgment. The entire sky was distorted and shattered everywhere. Go. The sad fate of Tong Tian Tower will end in my hands. In the name of the future divine supreme martial artist, I will end everything. Yu Yang angrily smashed the entire sacred mountain into the Dead Sea. This time, the heavens fell and the earth was turned upside down. After the balance was broken, two different types of power of rules collided wildly, engulfing and annihilating each other, and then combining to give birth to new rules. The chaotic power stirred up the entire space. Not only heaven and earth, but even the present, the past, and the future were all changed and renewed. Not just the balanced scale world. Even the three sky-reaching clans who had entered the divine grimoire space collapsed under the impact of Yu Yang's power of destiny. All the worlds were plunged into chaos after the power of destiny interfered. Before the people who were pressed to the ground could sense more, they fainted under the pressure of this supreme power of destiny. Except for Yu Yang, who was one with the giant of destiny. And little mama, no one could stand in this balanced scale world where everything was renewed and the world was reborn. Even Little Mother's two grimoire worlds were turned upside down because of this powerful domination attack. Yu Yang stretched out his hands, passed through the divine grimoire and the holy grimoire, and entered the new world where Little Mother was being born. He gently protected the heads of the three races of the Tong Tian Tower. With the protection of the Giant of Destiny and Yu Yang's will, all the lives of the three races survived the great destruction dominated by destiny. Especially Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai, who were under the protection of Yu Yang, were safe and sound. From this moment on, their fates were officially linked to Yu Yang. From then on, never parting, each of them had a unique ribbon of fate that extended from their souls and was tightly connected to him. Little Mama, Fei Wenli, Snake Empress, His Majesty, Night Empress, Fourth Mother, and Ji Zun, who was held in the arms of the Phantom Moon Goddess and had fainted because of the sudden breakthrough, were no exception. No matter what the identities of Shui Wuxia, Princess Sisai, Yu Yu, and Yu Bing were in life, there was no difference in the recognition of the law of destiny. On their foreheads, there was a unique emblem that belonged to Yu Yang, the future divine sovereign, to show and affirm their fate and future. Even Little Mother, who was also a future divine sovereign, had the emblem of Yu Yang on her forehead, because her achievements and fate were closely linked to her darling. It turned out that the fate of the three races of the Tong Tian Tower had long been turned into nothingness in the big explosion of destruction, annihilated into nothingness. The new fate of the three races of the Tong Tian Tower, which was ruled by Yu Yang, was recreated from the destruction. In the name of Yu Yang, it was officially born, belonging to the law of eternity. After an unknown period of time, Little Mother completed the comprehension of the new realm. She closed the grimoire. The three races of the Tong Tian Tower were all moved out of the balanced world, and one by one, they woke up from their coma. What appeared in front of them was a brand new, unbelievably beautiful world, destroyed and created by Yu Yang, the divine sovereign, but under the name of another divine sovereign. This was the new balanced world that belonged to Little Mother, the throne and territory that belonged to her ascension to the divine sovereign, the place where the three races of the Tong Tian Tower were sacrificed, and the place where they would return in the future. It's so beautiful. Is this the new world after the divine mountain flattened and the Dead Sea evaporated? It's incredible. I can't believe my eyes. So the existence of the balanced world is the world of the future divine sovereign. When the three races of the Tong Tian Tower woke up, they still suspected that they were in a dream. Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others stroked the flowers and trees around them, while the old fox, Jun Wu Yu, and the others felt blissful, tears rolling down their cheeks. Now, in front of them, was a world that was 100 times more beautiful than a dream. All the malicious curses were gone. The beautiful spring breeze blew the breath of life, and the sweet spring water in the sky gave birth to all the life on earth. Grass quietly sprouted and grew, and flowers unknowingly bloomed, covering the entire mountain and plains. Trees rose from the ground one by one, forming a lush green forest. The shrubs on the periphery were full of fruits, and the fragrance wafted in all directions. Butterflies danced among the flowers, and birds chased and chirped happily on the branches. Without the divine mountain and the Dead Sea, the balanced world was now full of life. The divine palaces that were originally destroyed by the divine sovereign, Tian Yu, were rebuilt by the newly ascended divine sovereign, who is also Yu Yang's mother. With a light tap of her little hand, the divine palaces were erected. They were no longer created because of battle, nor to suppress, but to provide the life inside to use and live in. These divine palaces were no longer overbearing and oppressive. Their attributes did not change, but their appearance became more beautiful, and their divine power became gentler and more docile. Most importantly, the newly created divine palaces no longer belonged to the divine palace, Tian Yu. No, impossible. I can't accept this. The divine palace's divine sovereign, Tian Yu, did not die. The powerful him actually survived the ultimate destruction of the balanced world. However, after he woke up, he found that it was like a dream. All the effort in his life had gone down the drain, and his mind immediately lost balance. He knew that he had failed, but he still could not accept this fact. He was the most outstanding genius in the heaven realm. From the day he was born, he was recognized and chosen as the future divine sovereign seed. Now, he had put in so much effort and sacrificed so much, but all he got in exchange was a helpless and humiliating witness. Witnessing others ascend to the divine sovereign. This is not what you want. Heavens, this is definitely not what I want. The divine palace's divine sovereign, Tianyu, stretched out a hand towards the sky. He hoped that the heavens could bestow him a little more, just a little more, and he would be able to ascend to the divine sovereign. Why? Why was he stingy with this last bit? Before, I always resisted saying it, but now I can say it. Sacrifice and persistence alone are useless. Queen Vivian, Li used her blade to support her body from falling. She wiped away the bloodstains on her face, and suddenly a charming smile bloomed. This was a kind of brilliance, like the smile of a goddess of victory. In the past, I also walked this path. From the day I was sealed, I understood that the path of conquest was not the path to the heavens. If I wanted to become a divine sovereign, I had to have a higher state of mind than sacrifice and perseverance. Only then would I be able to match the status and prestige of a divine sovereign. It is a kind of divine awareness that can bear the fate of all living beings, annihilate suffering and sin, and turn hope and happiness into eternity in one's hands, or rather, release from fate. You're quibbling, Fei Wenli. You haven't reached the divine, sovereign realm. You have no right to point fingers in front of me. Tianyu roared. Then pretend I didn't say anything. Queen Vivian, Li now didn't even look at the loser Tianyu from the corner of her eyes. Are you all right? Yu Yang mustered up his courage and carried the unconscious Ji Zun up. Enlightenment? The Ji Zun woke up, her eyes shining with the divine light of wisdom. Since she was a child, she had thoroughly comprehended this supreme realm of sublimation from the process of her mother's advancement, as well as from Yu Yang. She subconsciously muttered to herself, "Only by realizing oneself can one be free from everything? So that's how it is? Ah, I understand. Now I understand. Divine Sovereign Tianyu, you are indeed a genius, but don't blame others, and don't blame your unfortunate fate. All of this is actually your own doing." His Majesty said to the stubborn Tianyu with a slight sarcasm, "You are too superstitious about power, and you unreservedly accepted the sacrifice of others, but did not make any effort in return. Mountain of Light, Central Shrine, Qiheng, Jizun, Light Guardian Jizun, and more people, all of them have sacrificed for you. Tianyu, have you ever thought that even if you win in the end, even if you could be promoted to the Divine Sovereign, who else can stand up and shoulder the heavy fate for you and become the Divine Sovereign virtue in the future?" Tianyu trembled all over, the divine light in his eyes flickering. He was like a person who had been walking in the dark for a long time, suddenly covered by a strong light. His spirit was instantly sober, and he understood all the truth. But he clearly knew the truth, but he was unwilling to accept it, because he could no longer turn back. Tianyu's current situation was like a prince of a great country in the world, who had lived a good life since he was a child, had all the happiness in the world, and could be said to be doted on by thousands of people. But one day, he discovered a terrible truth. It turned out that he was just a puppet exchanged by the palace struggle, and his real identity was just a poor little beggar. So he was unwilling to accept his new identity and the cruel reality. In order to keep this secret, in order to keep his status, he killed everyone, and in the end, he was left alone. The most desperate thing was, when he woke up, he found that although his status as a prince was saved, everything in his life was ruined. It was such a kind of despair. It made Tianyu, who was once a proud son of heaven, no longer able to maintain his rationality. Tianyu lost his mind and roared, "No, I don't accept it. It's not like this. The truth is definitely not like this. It's clear that I am more powerful. Why did I fail?" I am only a step away from the divine sovereign realm. Just a little bit, just a little bit. Why was it not me who won the fate duel, but someone else? No, I don't accept it. I don't accept it. You can continue to be stubborn. You can choose to continue your ideals. That is your freedom. However, it is indeed impossible to advance to the divine sovereign realm by walking alone. The divine sovereign realm cannot be obtained by abandoning everything. It must bear more, and then surpass itself in the heavy, completely controlling its own fate. This kind of great wisdom is the foundation of advancement. Little Mother glanced at Sky Chariot with slight pity in her eyes. Sky Chariot, your talent is very, very high, but you are too stubborn. Relying on your strength, you disregard everything. You insist on stepping onto this path of no return. Your destiny is actually ending in your own hands, not me or fate. I hope that one day in the future, you will be able to understand. No, I don't understand. I don't want to understand anything. Those are all lies. I only know that I have already given so much. I have paid so much. Why can't I get anything in return? I must get something in return. I must get enough in return. Tianyu roared crazily. You have obtained enough power. Little Mother shook her head. You have, but those who have paid for you have not. They are willing to pave the way for me. Tianyu was still unconvinced. You accepted their sacrifice, but did not get anything in return. You cannot bear their fate, so you cannot escape your own fate either. The Little Mother waved her hand. You can go. You can walk whatever path you want. We have different paths, so we can't work together. Don't even think about it. Tianyu angrily unleashed his divine power. Our battle is not over yet. What I cannot obtain, I will destroy it with my own hands. You are no match for me. Never have been. Little Mother, who had already ascended to the divine sovereign realm, smiled. She waved her small hand. The laws of the new world, completely under her control, surged with a wondrous power of the world, easily expelling Tianyu from the Temple of Light. When the will of the heavenly chariot regained his balance, he found that he had returned to the foot of the Radiance Mountain. However, the Radiance Mountain now was no longer the residence of the central divine palace in the heaven realm, nor was it the supreme divine peak that overlooked all living beings. Instead, it was a completely collapsed ruin. Venerable heavenly chariot of the deity's Templar was stunned. He had never imagined that the indestructible Great Radiance Mountain would be reduced to such a state. It was over. Everything was over. Without the protection of the Guardian of Light and the others, the Great Radiance Mountain was completely finished. In order to pursue the divine sovereign realm, he destroyed everything, whether it was the people or the mountain. Everything was destroyed. Although he was unwilling to accept it, the cruel reality forced Tianyu to wake up. Whether he admitted it or not, this battle, this predestined battle, was a failure, a complete failure. Not only was it a failure, but he also paid a heavy price, so heavy that even Tianyu, a temple sovereign with the will of a sovereign, could not bear it. If time could be turned back, Tianyu was willing to turn back, to start all over again. He definitely would not choose this path, but everything could not be restarted. Welcome, welcome, welcome back, my dear fellow traveler. Heaven-splitting demon Venerable walked over with a smile on his face as he clapped. It's you? It's you? The Temple of God's autarch Heaven Charger recognized this unfamiliar acquaintance. It's me. Heaven-splitting demon Venerable smiled warmly. Are you mocking me? Tianyu was extremely angry, especially when he saw Heaven-splitting demon Venerable smile. It made him feel even more humiliated. No, my dearest friend, I'm here to welcome you, because you are my best companion. Tianyu, welcome. With you, I will no longer be lonely. Ha ha ha. Do you still remember? My dear friend, on the day we first met, I already said that you would be like me in the future. Don't be in a hurry to explain. That is completely meaningless. The truth is the truth. Do you understand? Back then, I was also the most outstanding genius, the seed with the most hope, but why was I unable to ascend to the divine sovereign realm, and even reduced to this state? because this is the final outcome of this path of no return. Yes, you didn't hear wrongly. We will be time travelers, wandering through the endless years, moving forward aimlessly, continuing our lives in pain and torment. Because of our great power, we will live through the endless years, and it is impossible for us to even die. This is the price and punishment for our selfishness. Throw away your power. That is a meaningless facade. I dare say that the stronger you are, the more power you control, and the more pain, boredom, and sorrow you will feel. Now, as a senior, I will enthusiastically introduce to you what we time wanderers can do. Don't be too pessimistic, my dear friend. We can still have fun. Heaven-splitting demon Venerable looked up to the sky and laughed heartily. Nonsense, I will kill you. Tion, you couldn't accept the other party's crazy words. Ha! Killing each other, even though it is useless, is one of the pleasures of our boring yet endless lives. Heaven-splitting demon Venerable laughed crazily, tears rolling down his cheeks. What is our other pleasure? Apart from pitiful killing each other, we can also tempt others, just like how I stood in front of the proud you in the past, and tempt you onto this path of no return. Yes, that's right. It's to let our pain continue on the body of another genius, on the body of another seed. That way, our hearts will feel better. My dear friend, think about it. What a joyous thing it is. Tian Yu, who was about to kill this lunatic in front of him, suddenly stopped. We have enough time. As long as we are patient, there will definitely be more people joining us. Heaven-splitting demon Venerable laughed happily. You can also choose to be free, as long as you are lucky enough to have a disciple like your master, the radiant guardian sovereign. Enough! Tian Yu roared angrily. I knew it. You are the same as me. Compared to the radiant guardian sovereign, you are more stubborn, so we are the true companions. Those who choose to be free from pain are simply cowards. Ha! Heaven-splitting demon Venerable laughed crazily and extended his hand towards Tian Yu. Come, I know that in a corner of the heaven realm, a super genius has been born. He is the illegitimate child of your disciple, Ji Wuri, a genius 100 times more outstanding than your disciple, a true genius. How about we make a bet? Will he be a coward in the future, or will he be a companion like us? I will definitely not allow a coward to appear. Tian Yu clenched his teeth. Yes, this way, the fun will be bigger, and the time won't be too boring. Heaven-splitting demon Venerable laughed, and laughed until he was about to die. I'm very much looking forward to that day. What kind of words will he say? Ha ha ha. Chapter 1398. The Balanced World. At the end of the Wall of Sighs, there was a world tree. On the tree, there were all kinds of beautiful world stones. It was growing slowly in the balanced world, absorbing the power of the new world, constantly enriching itself and growing upwards. At the top of the world tree, there was an extremely tiny flower fairy. She was born from nothingness. As soon as she was born, she opened her big eyes full of spirituality and flew around the world tree with a smile. From time to time, she would touch the tree trunk and those fruit-like and incomparably clean world stones. She was holding a sprinkler that came from nowhere, collecting rainwater from the sky and happily watering it. She even opened her mouth and sang to it. Seeing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The tree and the stone are finally together. There is no longer any power that can separate them. Shui Wuxia sighed emotionally. So touching. Fallen Beauty burst into tears. As for little crybaby Bao Air, she was so moved that she couldn't stop crying. Is this really a good ending? Yu Yang, who didn't know how lucky he was, felt that it wasn't enough. However, he immediately received a round of punches. Even the most gentle, sickly Beauty and big sister Yu Yu protested against his inappropriate words. Perhaps the ending between peerless Emperor Wu Shuang and the Flower Fairy wasn't the best, but at least the two of them had a result, right? Scarlet Dan Z turned around and looked at his old friend, Subtraction Life, strangely. Aren't you leaving? Subtraction Life turned a deaf ear. His eyes were fixed on a cluster of flowers. In the cluster of flowers, there was a small silver spider. It peeked its head out from the petals, its small eyes timidly observing the new world. Baby, come on my hand. Subtraction Life was so touched that he wanted to cry. He stretched out his hand eagerly, but the silver spider was shocked and quickly hid back in the petals. After a long time, then it peeked its head out again. It found a guy with tears streaming down his face who was stupidly looking at it with his hand outstretched. Come my hand, baby. I want to bring you around the entire heaven realm. Subtraction Life stretched out his hand patiently. The silver love thread spider observed him timidly. After an unknown amount of time, it finally took a tentative step. Subtraction Common People didn't move at all. He put on his most brilliant smile, but his smiling face looked uglier than crying. The silver love silk spider timidly observed as it approached. Finally, it jumped onto the life-subduing palm. A love thread. It twined around his finger. The tears of Reduce the Common People dripped down in large droplets, dripping on its body. But his face was smiling. Perhaps the silver spider had gotten used to it and felt that this smile, which was uglier than crying, was suddenly not so scary. So it happily danced on his palm. Off to the side, Master Scarlet Danzy shook his head and sighed. Why am I the only one left? Boo-hoo. The emotional fatty Hai started to cry loudly. What's wrong with you? Yikong was baffled. I'm so touched. Fatty Hai also squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying and looked at the wind-breath seabird. Baby, we'll be together too. We'll never be separated. Go to hell. The wind-breath seabird kicked this guy who would itch if he didn't get beaten up. He cried so ugly and even said such disgusting words. It was really unbearable. Yikong, the Lee brothers, and the other bad friends laughed so hard that they almost choked. Very good. This way there would be fun to watch. As for Fatty Hai's feelings, who would care? The demon dragon stood up and was reborn in the new world. The shackles on his body were all gone. He, who had completely recovered, looked up to the sky and roared, I'm resurrected again. Ha ha. Let's see who else can trap me this time. With the support of the future Holy Lord's little brother, the demon dragon was in a good mood. He had been depressed for so long. Now that he could lift his eyebrows, he naturally wanted a vent. Cheong-Chi also went crazy with his idol. Yes, let's go. We'll sweep through the heaven realm and make all the rankers tremble under our feet. Yu Yang hurriedly pretended that he didn't know these two idiots. He couldn't afford to lose face. Sweep, no one can stop me. Not even that old fellow supreme dragon god. Mo Long's boss was very arrogant now. Who said that? Suddenly, a voice sounded. The demon dragon looked up and found that it was the one who threw a hammer and broke his spine outside the gate of God. He was so scared that his face turned pale. He quickly hid behind Yu Yang, his thighs trembling like a chicken in a storm. This was the supreme dragon god's envoy. His strength and realm did not need to be mentioned. Just that hammer alone, the demon dragon would not be able to withstand it no matter how capable he was. Therefore, the demon dragon boss had to learn to act like a grandson now. Fortunately, Yu Yang was here. As the boss, he still had to maintain his face. Otherwise, he would have knelt down long ago. Don't mention the supreme dragon god's name in the future. After the supreme dragon god's envoy accepted everyone's greetings, he glared at the demon dragon angrily, almost scaring the boss to pee in his pants. Fortunately, with the pleas of Yu Yang, Little Mama, and the others, the Lord Envoy reluctantly agreed to pardon the demon dragon boss's crimes. However, he was not allowed to use the supreme dragon god's name again. This pardon made the demon dragon boss extremely happy. He beamed with joy and danced with joy. I won't mention it. I definitely won't mention it. I have always respected the supreme dragon god from the bottom of my heart. Seeing that everything was fine, he immediately jumped out from behind Yu Yang shamelessly and stretched out his hand. My crimes have been absolved. I have also contributed greatly to the promotion of the two holy elders. Lord Envoy, why don't you give me the Divine Hammer Award? I promise that I will work hard in the future and strive to make new contributions. Scram! The Lord Envoy was furious. If you say another word, I will skin you alive. The demon dragon quickly stuffed his hand into his mouth. So fierce. Xiangqi, this guy who was not afraid of death, muttered softly. He was dissatisfied with his idol from the bottom of his heart. This was too strict. You get lost too. If I don't beat you up, I won't be able to dispel the hatred in my heart, even after 10,000 years. The Lord Envoy kicked Xiangqi away with his big foot. The demon dragon quickly dragged this brat away to prevent him from saying more mistakes and suffering more physical pain. Who is he? So fierce? Fatty Hai and the others quickly gathered to gossip. Under the supreme dragon god, the one with the best temper, you could just call him the calm ocean envoy. The demon dragon did not dare to speak ill of the Lord Envoy in front of him. So powerful. When Yi Kong and Fatty Hai heard this, they all had a feeling that they did not understand. Yes. Bao also expressed her agreement. Why are you approaching us? Quickly go and act cute and see if you can get some treasures. Fatty Hai was anxious for this little girl. This was the best opportunity. How could she waste it? Bao did not know if she could get anything good by acting cute, but she did not need to. Jiang Ying was already conferred the title of Dragon Princess by the Lord Envoy's decree on behalf of the Supreme Dragon God. She was even presented with a high-quality divine equipment, Princess Crown. Jiang Ying was extremely shocked and touched that a father emperor had fallen from the sky. Originally, she had not been recognized for inheriting the Supreme Dragon King's divine power. Now, not only was she recognized, she was also conferred the title of princess. How could she not be surprised and have mixed feelings? She hugged Yang tightly and cried nonstop. Yang found it funny and patted her back comfortingly. All right, this is a good thing. If you continue crying, you will become a crybaby princess. You're the crybaby. Jiang Ying's tears turned into laughter. Sisters Yao and Yu, come forward to receive the decree. The Lord Envoy took out another imperial edict. Us. The remote feather dragon sisters were stunned. Jiang Ying was still all right. She had inherited the supreme dragon god's divine power, but the two sisters did not have anything. By the supreme dragon god's decree, the dragon clan's orphan Yao Yu and Yu sisters are conferred the title of Nine Heavens Dragon Lady. The Eastern Remnant clan of Tong Tian Tower is identified and recognized as the Eastern True Dragon Clan. From today onwards, this will be a banishment order. All previous mistakes will be pardoned, and the Nine Heavens Dragon Lady is allowed to lead her clan back. The glory of the ancestors will be restored. The envoy of the Calm Sea bestowed the two sisters with a Dragon Star badge. He officially recognized them as the Eastern clan and allowed them to lead their clan back. Woo-woo. This time, it was the sisters' turn to cry. The envoy of the Calm Sea waved the imperial edict with both hands. At the same time, two streaks of divine power imprinted by the Supreme Dragon God were released. They turned into 7-color divine light and enveloped Jiang Ying and Yu sisters. The princess crown was automatically worn, and Jiang Ying spun in the divine light. The divine power that she had originally inherited under the new title increased by 1,000 times. On the other side, the sisters who were also bathed in the divine light were the same. They were just slightly inferior to Jiang Ying, the Dragon Lady Princess. When they stopped, beautiful celestial music could be faintly heard from the horizon. The entire Tianping world shone brightly, and the clouds set each other off. It was extremely beautiful. When everyone saw this, they were all intoxicated. Who would have thought that the conferment was not just a title, but also a genuine divine persona? However, after thinking about it, how great was the Supreme Dragon God? How could his holy order be as simple as empty words? Your Highness, I have to return to reply to the imperial edict. I will take my leave first. After the envoy of the Calm Sea greeted Jiang Ying, he gracefully bid farewell to the two future supreme divine beings, Yu Yang and Little Mother. Finally, he floated away. That was close. Only when the envoy was far away did Mo Long's heart finally relax. When Yu Yang saw that the fight was over and that there was a conferment, he took advantage of everyone's happiness and hugged them one by one. Even Her Majesty, who usually kicked him away, was no exception. Her Majesty did not expect him to be so daring to be hugged in his arms. She was startled at first, but immediately reacted. She raised her fist and was about to give him a panda eye. However, on second thought, this brat was the future supreme divine being. Beating him in public was a bit embarrassing, so she desperately held it in. Her Majesty pushed him away and glared at him. However, a certain wolf was thick-skinned and hugged Night Empress, who was beside him. Night Empress was overjoyed. She almost fell to the ground laughing. She hugged Yu Yang and mischievously whispered in his ear, "You hug her once, I'll let you hug her twice. Let's see if you have the guts." "My guts are bigger than the heavens." Yu Yang's biggest strength was his guts. However, this whisper that was not soft seemed to be heard by Her Majesty. Once Her Majesty was angry, it would be terrible. Before she could explode, Yu Yang was so scared that he hurriedly ran away. That silly look of his made him look especially awkward, no matter how one looked at it. He looked like a little thief who was caught by the whole nation and had nowhere to escape. Huh, Princess Sisai was amused. What a headache. Yu, the gentle sister, shook her head and sighed. But who asked her to have such a brother? So Bing Air is here. Schwanger, don't pull my hair. The safest place for Yu Yang was in Fourth Mother's embrace. Here, it was safer than anywhere else in the world. Look, he's still a big kid. Fourth Mother hugged Yu Yang and patted his back. Then she smiled at the little mother beside her. It's been hard on you all these years. The little mother's eyes were filled with tenderness as she looked at Yu Yang without blinking. Mama's back, call Mom. Fourth Mother gently let go of Yu Yang. Mom? Yu Yang looked around for a long time, only to find a cute girl who looked about the same age as Bing Air, but looked more like Fourth Mother. She was smiling at him. This was she his mom. Chapter 1399. Big ending. You're my mother? Yu Yang was stunned for a long time before he cried out in shock, expressing that he couldn't accept it. Yes. The little mother smiled and nodded, looking extremely cute. I think you look like a younger sister. Yu Yang felt that this mother didn't look much older than Yu Bing. Not only him, even Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others who were peeking at them thought so, but they didn't dare to express their approval. This was the most mysterious and powerful mother in the whole of Tong Tian Tower. Furthermore, she was the future holy ruler of Tong Tian Tower. Hence, no matter what, they had to show their most respectful attitude. How can you say that? Fourth Mother was unhappy. With Yu Yang's lazy attitude, didn't it mean that she didn't educate her son well? All right, the fearless Yu clan third young master was most afraid of Fourth Mother's anger. Call me Mother. Fourth Mother gave Yu Yang a task. Call me Mother, call me Mother. Bao Air cheered at the side with all her might. She led Shuang Air and the others to shout continuously, jumping and jumping with joy. Their ruckus increased the difficulty for Yu Yang. Originally, he could have secretly called out softly, but this way, he couldn't say a single word even after opening his mouth for a long time. Yu Yang himself was a little anxious. The little mother was very tolerant. She wasn't anxious at all, waiting with a smile on her face. The most considerate Xue Niu came to the rescue and laughed. What's so difficult about this? Watch me demonstrate it correctly. Mother. She called out affectionately and sweetly, causing the little mother to smile from ear to ear. She nodded her head and hugged Xuanyo in her arms, kissing her in satisfaction. Good girl. Mother. Tigress also called her intimately. One must know that she didn't have a biological mother since she was young and had always lacked a mother. Now that Yu Yang had a mother, she naturally wanted to share her. The little mother also gave her a big hug and buried Tigress, who was a head taller than her, in her chest. Her face was full of joy. Good girl, you are also a good child. Next year, give me a big fat grandson. I'm also a good child. I'm also a good child. I also call mother, mother. Bao Er's eyes were red, and she squeezed into her mother's arms, desperately acting like a spoiled child. Yes, you're the best. The little mother was happy. Everyone went up to her and called her mother. Even Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others who were far away started to call her mother. In the end, only Yu Yang was left. If it wasn't for Fourth Mother, Yu Yang would have escaped long ago, because the atmosphere was really too awkward. The Eastern Sky King and the old cunning fox hurriedly tried to save the situation. They chased away Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others who were watching the commotion. They then led the warriors of Tong Tian Tower to bid farewell from afar. The Shadow Clan of the Upper Realm and the Nine-Headed Goblin Clan were invited to Tong Tian Tower. Naturally, they were overjoyed. On the other side, Jean Di and the Goblin Emperor also looked at Sky Execution, Dragon Emperor, and the others and smiled at each other. The friendship that they had formed through battle had unknowingly become bosom friends. They had a tacit understanding and gathered together, no longer increasing the pressure on the younger generation. As for Jun Wu Yu, Ming Ri Hao, and the others who were flattering Boss Missouri Long, he was even more pleased with himself at this moment, laughing loudly towards the sky from time to time. Of course, he personally acknowledged me as the boss. Moreover, if I'm not the boss, who is the boss? Back then, M.O. Long was the #1 expert in the Heaven Realm. M.O. Long boasted proudly. Although everyone knew that he was actually the #1 expert in the Heaven Realm, it didn't stop everyone from flattering him. Yes, you're the boss, the biggest boss, the boss of the bosses. Fatty Hai and M.O. Long had the most common language. Damn Fatty, go away. The wind-breath seabird still refused to let this fellow come closer. Don't be angry, baby, I'll give you time. Fatty Hai quickly ran away. How did I know this kind of person? The wind-breath seabird was speechless. The Serpent Queen Fei Wenli had been holding on since the beginning of the battle. At this moment, she couldn't bear it anymore and sat down on the grass. A small hand that was as white as jade reached out toward her. On top, it was a small, smiling face. Fei Wenli was stunned. She let go of the sword in her hand and held the small hand that she couldn't remember how many years ago it had been that had reached out to her, but was rejected again and again. It's been so many years, but you haven't changed at all. The owner of the smiling face also nodded in agreement. Serpent Queen, you haven't changed either. Fei Wenli suddenly sighed. Fate is really a wonderful thing. Who would have thought that the course of life would become like this? Fate has always been mysterious. The owner of the smiling face gently pulled the Serpent Queen up. Moreover, there's nothing wrong with this. At least it's much livelier than before. Princess Yiming, who likes peace the most, also likes liveliness. A certain Serpent Queen expressed her disbelief. People change, Yi Zichen said. Smiling, she quickly glanced at Yu Yang. The lonely princess may like peace, but the even more lonely His Majesty thinks that liveliness is not bad. I don't know when it started, but there's a particularly reckless guy who likes to disturb other people's sleep. All day long, he's always messing around. Sometimes, people can't help but laugh. So I think that liveliness is also a good choice. What about you? I'm about the same as you. The Serpent Queen couldn't help but laugh when she recalled the scene of her sleeping for 10,000 years being awakened by a certain brat. In the entire Tianping world, only Yu Yang and his family were left. There were no outsiders. Yu Yang mustered up his courage again and finally decided to throw caution to the wind. He opened his mouth, wanting to call out for his mother, but when his voice reached his mouth, it was as soft as a mosquito. Mother! Finally able to call out, Yu Yang's heart was finally relieved. Inan, Bing Er, and the others who were watching all cheered. They were even happier than if they had won a great battle. Although this call was very soft, Fourth Mother was still extremely satisfied. A happy smile appeared on her face. Little Mother, who had been waiting with a smile, had her eyes redden, and tears almost fell from her eyes. She walked up and opened her arms wide, hugging both Yu Yang and Fourth Mother. Inan, Bing Er, and Bao Er were all extremely touched. They all rushed forward and surrounded the three of them, hugging them tightly in the middle. Shuang Er and Miss Panda Nyonyo each hugged one of Yu Yang's legs. They made funny faces at each other. Although they didn't know much, they knew that as long as they stayed by their brother's side, they wouldn't have any worries. Call me that again. Little Mother made a request. Yu Yang couldn't do anything to this little mother, who buried her head in his arms and acted coquettishly. How was this a mother? She was basically a little sister. Although he wouldn't call her that again, he didn't reject the little mother who cupped his face and gave him an incomparably affectionate mother kiss. Little mother was extremely happy. She opened her arms wide and cheered loudly. Everyone can call me mother. I like it. Young almost fell to the ground. However, the feeling of having a mother was really not bad. Although she was a mother who acted cute, compared to fourth mother, little mother was like a big lowly who hadn't grown up. Young was a little suspicious. Shouldn't fourth mother be the older sister? Although he was suspicious, reality was reality. Fourth mother's respect for little mother was indescribable. She could tell from her serious expression that she wanted Young to call her mother. I didn't hear it clearly just now. Call me that again. Little mother coaxed Young as if he was a little kid. She even took out 100-flower golden grain candy. Young was sweating profusely. I'm not a 3-year-old kid, okay? Mother. Bao Shuang and the others really called out. Be good. Little mother gave them candy one by one, but her eyes were fixed on Young. Young hurriedly looked at the horizon to see if there were any gray planes appearing. He couldn't be bothered to argue with this kind of mother who went against growth and treated everyone as a child. Fourth mother covered her mouth and laughed when she saw this, and so did Xuanyo. Hunyo held back her laughter and nudged Luo Hua Beauty beside her with her elbow. Draw this scene, and then hang it in the corridor that we come and go every day. I don't dare. Fallen Beauty also wanted to draw it, but she was afraid that Young would smack her, but coward. Tigress was exasperated that Young didn't live up to her expectations. What you all doing? They're guests from afar. Jizun's voice suddenly rang out, startling everyone. Looking up, they saw an old Taoist priest in a green robe walking slowly towards them. He looked like an ordinary person without any aura of a rancor. But Fourth Mother, Night Empress, His Majesty, Jizun, Fei Wen Li, and Little Mother hurriedly greeted him respectfully. Young was stunned. The old Taoist priest walked over and stretched out his hand. Return my sword. Without waiting for Young to react, a ball of colorful light appeared in his hand. He pulled it out from a void, and a flying sword broke through the air. Between the old Taoist priest's fingers, it turned into a sword leaf and hung down from his belt. Ah, the heavenly sword goddess was taken away, just like that. Young had the urge to commit suicide. He didn't want to live anymore. Without the heavenly sword goddess, how could he live anymore? Just as he was about to break down, he realized that the heavenly sword goddess was standing beside him. She led Koki no Koki and the Phoenix Sisters, respectfully greeting the old Taoist priest. Her attitude was as if she had seen her own father. Young was stunned again. The heavenly sword goddess was very dissatisfied with his silly look and glared at him angrily. Koki no Koki also secretly looked over. Her small mouth opened and closed, but she didn't say anything. However, looking at the shape of her mouth, Young was sure that she said idiot. This time, Young finally reacted. He pounced forward. He hugged the old Taoist priest's thigh and shouted, Master, you're here. Your disciple missed you so much. Even Tigress and the others couldn't stand this kind of shameless behavior. Please, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't call your master randomly, okay? Who's your master? The old Taoist priest kicked Young so hard that he tumbled. He couldn't hold back his anger when he saw this shameless brat. He didn't wait for Young to crawl up and left angrily with his hands behind his back. A white cloud floated up and stepped on it. In the blink of an eye, the old Taoist priest's body had already risen to the sky. He broke through the void and flew away. When Young saw that the old Taoist priest had flown away, he was very disappointed. Then he saw that the heavenly sword goddess and Koki no Koki were still there. He patted his chest with lingering fear. As long as they were still there, it was fine. Even if he lost his flying sword, he couldn't use it, and he didn't know how to use it. His days with the heavenly sword goddess were still passable. Just as he was rejoicing, his mother knocked his head. Stupid son, you're really stupid. With this knock, Yang's mind was filled with happiness. He jumped up and shouted, Master, wait for me. He then turned around and shouted at the girls. What are you waiting for? Chase after him with me. Final thoughts. After so many years, summoning has finally been completed. Xiaofei was very grateful to everyone, especially those who persevered until the very end. Many of their names could not be mentioned here, but they will forever be remembered in his heart. In these few years, Xiaofei had been in extreme pain. Life was tormenting and suffocating. Xiaofei even had the thought of never writing or writing again. But after calming down and thinking about it, he realized that he should move forward in adversity. Perseverance was the most important thing to do. The strong should be in his heart. He was grateful to those who comforted Xiaofei when he was in pain, lonely, and lost. There was a period of time when Xiaofei thought that the whole world had abandoned him. He was confused and struggled. When the suffering was over and life returned to normal, Xiaofei felt that the whole world was clear and he had found a right direction in life. He decided to regain his confidence and continue on his journey. He hoped that in the future, he would still have all of you to accompany him. The new book, Long Live the Counterattack, will be uploaded on the eve of the Mid-Autumn Festival. We will meet again then. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.